Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Q&Play, my monthly Q&A series where I answer your questions in a rambly, unscripted format. First question comes from Quiet Blake. Q&Play question: when was there a time you actually respected a PvP situation as a player or as a DM, outside looking in, or hosting/playing yourself? So, as a DM, I have had, I think, a few PvP situations, but the only one I remember is a situation where our paladin and our ranger had a fist fight because the ranger kept on opening chests when they knew there were mimics about. And the paladin was like, hey, stop. The ranger wouldn't stop. So the paladin, well, she punched him in the face. Did I respect this moment? Yes, I did, because at the end of the day, it was mostly meant for comedic slapstick effect. We were all laughing our butts off, and the ranger took the punch. It was a moment that was meant in good fun, and it was funny as hell. And when it happened again later, when the ranger tried to open another chest, it was even funnier. That's just the kind of tone that my group was going for, and is still going for now. We are serious sometimes, but a lot of the times we are more happy-go-lucky, and that's okay. That's the tone of my home game. If you're wondering why Shadow over Carconos can be so grim, I mean, that's at least part of the reason. I don't think PvP is a problem as long as everybody is down for it to happen, including the Dungeon Master. The main reason PvP can really throw me off as a DM is that it can take a little bit of time. Combat in D&D can be time consuming. I take out a lot of time per session to have fights, and taking 20 to 30 minutes out for a PvP duel, yeah, that's not gonna fly. The reason why this particular PvP that I'm talking about was so great was that it was such a brief moment. It was really short and it didn't take up too much time. It was funny, it was great, and none of the players were actually hurt in terms of their feelings. Everyone was having a good time. It's everything I strive to accomplish in my home games, and even if I didn't expect it, I am glad that it happened. Question from Shieldmaiden Lindsey. I got a question. What do you do about feet dragging players? Here's me, excited to do the quest, but held back by my entire party insisting we can't trust the quest giver. I'm Q Bender voice, let's go already! While everyone yaks the NPC's ears off, making 50 insight checks and snoop around their house to find nothing. They force me out of NPC interactions because they're worried I'll say the wrong thing, and every discussion on what we should do takes 40 minutes. That can be really annoying, and unfortunately, I'm assuming you're a player. It just sounds like you're a player. Unfortunately, there's just not much you can do about that from a player side. You can try to convince the others as another player to move along a little bit faster, but I think the main person who is going to solve this is the Dungeon Master. The feet dragging thing is really annoying sometimes. I understand that a lot of groups move at different paces. However, if you've watched my games, you will know that I tend to move things along at a brisk pace. Partly because I am trying to do a show here and we only have so much time in the runtime, but also because I like to be efficient. I don't like it when people start dragging their feet and just not getting anything done, pointlessly wasting time and not getting to the meat of the content that I have prepped for them to actually play. That annoys me as a Dungeon Master, so if you talk to your DM about it, they might be able to do something about this situation. Of course, hopefully respectfully. It's not like these players are doing anything morally wrong. I will say though, them cutting you out of discussions isn't great. That's not something you should be doing. Even if you think a player is stupid or their character isn't going to say the right thing, you should allow them to participate in the game. Don't be a dick about it. You know, even if their character might not be the most perfect to interact every single time, that doesn't mean you don't let them interact ever. But yeah, talking with the DM, talking with the party, having an open discussion about how to fix this problem, because it is a problem, at least from what you're telling me, I think that's the best way to solve this. Question from Missile Grevious. Who was your favorite to run NPC that the party just decided to drag along with them? So, my favorite NPC that the party just decided to drag along. I won't say that they dragged her along. They've never really done that where they take an NPC against their will. But certainly an NPC that I wasn't expecting was this girl named Charlotte and her mom Sadie. The party were looking through the town of Blackwater in my homebrew world, and they were trying to find a friendly NPC to ask some questions. I had them roll. They rolled a natural 20. Oh my god. So I was like, okay, who's a super friendly NPC? Oh, a little girl selling flowers. So I just spontaneously invented this little girl named Charlotte. and the party, they loved her. And so I decided to just spontaneously expand upon this character. In that same session, I invented her backstory. She has a single mom who is trying to look out for her daughter in this town in the middle of nowhere by selling crabs to make a meager living. I already established a gang of demon magic using cowboys called the Rooks that existed in this homebrew world of the party we're trying to fight. And this lady kind of fit the profile of a former Rook member. So later on in the next session, I established that she is a former member of the Rooks who fled the gang to raise her daughter. I thought that that was great. So yeah, Sadie's the mom, Charlotte's the kid, and these two characters just ended up being a huge part of the campaign. We're 50 sessions in, and these characters are still showing up, and they're still some of my party's favorite NPCs. It helped that big part of this campaign is that the party had a ship called the Jack Carlo that they stocked with a crew of crazy, awesome NPCs that I made up because the party like having that crew around. I like having this variety, this cast of NPCs around my party because they're very minimalist with how they play their characters, so I fill the story with these fully fleshed out NPCs so the party can experience more aspects of this world. And Sadie and Charlotte were meant to be this more down-to-earth thing, even though I didn't really intend to have them be part of the campaign at all. I made them up on the spot in like session 4 and just expanded upon them slowly over the course of the campaign. As of session 50, Sadie has taken her daughter Charlotte and left the party and the ship to go raise her kid and live a normal life, at least for now. Sadie is currently acting as a bouncer at a rich fancy club run by a mermaid, and her daughter is going to school and trying to be a normal girl after experiencing so much adventure with the crew of the Jack Carlo. These two characters were awesome. I really loved having them be part of the story, and I'm really glad the party wanted them to be around that much. Question from Lukas. What's a campaign idea you like other than the generic adventurers for hire thing? I have been obsessed with House of the Dragon, so I've been really into the idea of having characters be part of a lordship or part of, maybe not as high as royalty, but yeah, part of a lordship is I think a really interesting way to frame a campaign. It completely changes the scope of it. Now you're dealing with a lot more political threats, and your characters have a little bit of pull and power in court, which can change the way they act in situations. Mark Humes, the High Rollers DM, did this exact type of game when he ran Knights of Eveningstar, which started on the D&D YouTube channel, the Wizards of the Coast YouTube channel. It has moved to another channel. I don't remember which one, but if I remember, I will put it in the cards, maybe. I probably won't. Yeah, but anyway, I don't think you need to do that. I don't think you need to deviate from Adventurers for Hire. Adventurers for Hire is a cool-ass premise. But if you need other inspiration, a lot of the media that we just consume on a day-to-day basis don't involve generic fantasy adventurers for hire. I mean, I brought up House of the Dragon earlier, but there are many other examples of shows that can give you different framing for your games. The next question comes from my very own Flando. If you watch Critical Role and Shadow for Kirko Notes, I guess you'll get the reference. It's limited. Anyway, point is, question from Thilypad. Can you, if you haven't already, talk about your homebrew rules? Specifically, what leads to a roll again on a nat 1 or 20 rule? Does it mean a nat 1 or 20 doesn't count on the first roll? Okay, so context for this, if you watch my actual play, you'll hear me ask players if they confirmed a nat 20 or a nat 1. So what I mean by this, and I do have a clarification on the screen, but I know a lot of people just listen to the show, but anyway, point is, my rule is thus. If you get a nat 20, roll again. If you get another nat 20, something miraculous happens. If you don't get another nat 20, no big deal. You still have a normal nat 20. You'll still probably succeed on whatever you're trying to accomplish. The same goes for natural ones. If you roll a nat 1, roll again. If you get another nat 1, something horrendous happens. If you get anything other than nat 1, well, you still have a normal nat 1. You're probably going to fail whatever you're going to do anyway. But if you get 2 nat 1s or 2 nat 20s, something either miraculous or horrible happens. It just adds a little bit more to the game, that little bit of extra flair and risk. And when it does happen, it is epic. I know some people are under the illusion that dual nat 1s or dual nat 20s are impossible mathematically, but that's just literally not how it works. But I'm not going to get into a math rant because no one wants to hear that, trust me. Point is, yeah, that's my fun homebrew rule. My not fun rule, by not fun rule I mean it's a rule that kind of nerfs the players. Basically, if you cast magical healing on somebody, it doesn't automatically stabilize them. First, it has to be a leveled spell. Cantrip and racial ability healing does nothing for somebody who is down and rolling death saves. You need to cast a leveled spell. If it's level 1, you can either give them a success or take away a fail. Level 2, you give them 2 successes, take away 2 fails. Level 3, you might as well just stabilize them. Obviously, because of this, a cantrip like Spare the Dying needs to be obliterated from the game, unfortunately, just because it doesn't really make sense with the rule I just established. This is my solution to death whack-a-mole, and it makes my games a lot more intense. If you've watched Shadow, you know what I'm talking about. It is worth noting that healing potions still automatically stabilize you, so I encourage the party to stock up on healing potions no matter the situation, just because those things can come in super handy when you have a player who is down and you can't afford to burn the spell slots. I know these rules are not for everyone, because they're not. They're for me. These are for my games and the games that I run and the tone of game that I want to create with the enemies that I use. There are a few miscellaneous homebrew rules, like bonus action to give a potion to yourself, action to give it to someone else, but I'm not going to litigate all of those to you because we'll be here all day and most of them are pretty, boring. Question from Red Crusader 1097. What's your favorite vegetable? My favorite vegetable would have to be edamame. It is a glorious, glorious thing. So good. I could eat it forever. Second to that would probably be big boy carrots. Not baby carrots, big boy carrots. I love those things. It makes me feel like a hobbit and Bree when I eat the carrot with the green bit of anyway, look, it's stupid. Point is, love carrots too. Alright, final question from Redforce Productions. Do you have any tips for better and more authentic role-playing? I feel like I'm selling my own character short by not playing the character to his fullest potential. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not the best person to talk about this just because the vast majority of my D&D advice that I give to people is about DMing, being a dungeon master. And that's because that's what I do the most frequently. I honestly don't play this game nearly as much as I DM, and that's okay. I love being a dungeon master. However, that does mean that when people ask me about player advice, I'm a little bit more hesitant. However, I think roleplay advice I can give. So, how do you portray your character in a more authentic way? First and foremost, your backstory is a major part of this. And you need to remember that your backstory is not static. If you feel restricted by the backstory you wrote, then it is okay to change it up. Your backstory is the basis for your character. It's the first thing you created when you made that character. At least it's one of the first things you created. So use that to build your character up and to play out their personality. Speaking of personality, it is integral that you figure that personality out. I know that sounds so basic, but it can be easy to forget. Like, ask yourself, what are some basic descriptions that I would use for my characters? Just some basic adjectives. Kalia Solfero is an NPC I play a lot in Shadow over Carcono. She is the main NPC the party interacts with. I would describe her as tenacious and nervous. Those are the 2 adjectives I'd use. Just based on that, I have an idea in my head of how she'd talk. She's not afraid to take agency, hence tenacious, but she can be nervous. She has been through some stuff and therefore can be nervous around people, especially when they're acting friendly towards her. Also, don't be afraid to base your personality in the way that you speak as your character, the way you play your character, on other characters that you enjoy. Kalia Solfero takes a lot of inspiration from the aesthetic of Dishonored and the persona of Arya Stark from Game of Thrones. Take those 2 things, put them together. I mean, the 2 characters that I took those things from are gone. It's a new character now. Inspiration is a powerful tool, and it's a tool I feel like a lot of new players and experienced players are afraid to use because they're afraid of ripping something off. But unless you're super blatant about it, your party's probably not going to notice. As long as you take just a tasteful amount of inspiration, you can use that to just further your own role-playing and your storytelling. Finally, and I think most importantly, don't beat yourself up over this. If you're trying to improve your role-playing, it is going to take some time. You're not going to be great at it overnight. It's okay to take time to improve. I mean, hell, practice makes perfect. And how many skillers are going to get 4 hours of regular practice sessions every week? But anyway, if you guys want more reading on this, some further reading on this topic, then you can check out Ginny D's roleplay videos. I'll link them in the cards if I remember. I probably won't. Anyway, that is going to be it for today's episode of Q&Play. If you guys enjoyed it, then please do leave a like. If you want to see more of my content, then you can check out our RPG horror story series where I cover the best of the worst of Dungeons & Dragons, and while you're there on the cards, subscribe to Crispy's Tavern to get more of our content as it comes out. And finally, if you want to leave your own questions, or thoughts, go down to the comments down below. If you can't think of a comment, leave the comment Avery's Treasure to reference the game I'm playing in the background and to let me know you made it to the end of the video. Just like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you all next time. Farewell.